My name is Sarah Lin, and I never planned to become a secret millionaire while working a day job at TechCore Solutions. But sometimes the best success stories happen when no one's watching. The quarterly review meeting at TechCore was always a spectacle. Marcus Wright, our VP of Product Development, loved using these sessions to establish his dominance through carefully orchestrated humiliation. Today's target? Me. I sat quietly in the back of the conference room, my laptop open to a project proposal that Marcus had rejected 6 times in the past year. Around me, 40 coworkers shifted uncomfortably in their chairs, already sensing what was coming. And now Marcus announced, his voice dripping with false concern. Let's discuss our challenging projects. He clicked to a new slide, and my heart stopped. There on the screen was my proposal for an AI-driven personal finance platform. Sarah Lin here. He gestured toward me with an exaggerated flourish, has spent countless hours developing what she calls revolutionary financial technology. Would you like to explain to everyone why this project has failed to meet even basic viability standards? I felt every eye in the room turn to me. 3 years ago, this kind of public shaming would have made me crumble. But that was before my late-night coding sessions turned into something bigger than anyone at TechCore could imagine. Actually, I said calmly, closing my laptop, I prefer to wait until tomorrow. The timing will be better then. Marcus's smirk widened. Ah yes, always waiting for the perfect moment. This, everyone, is why some people will never succeed in tech. They can't execute. They just dream. The room filled with nervous laughter. Marcus lived for these moments, building his reputation on crushing others' ambitions. What he didn't know was that his repeated rejections of my project had been the best thing that could have happened to me. It started 3 years ago during my first pitch to Marcus. I developed a prototype AI system that could analyze personal spending patterns and provide customized financial advice. The technology was solid. I'd spent 2 years perfecting the algorithms during my MIT graduate studies. This is amateur work, Marcus had declared, barely glancing at the documentation. Financial technology requires experience you clearly don't have. Stick to basic coding tasks. That night, I sat in my small apartment staring at the rejection email. My phone buzzed. A message from my former professor, Dr. Chen. How did the pitch go? I called her, fighting back tears as I explained Marcus's dismissal. Her response changed everything. Sarah, remember what I taught you about market disruption? Sometimes the biggest opportunities come disguised as rejections. If your current company can't see the potential, maybe it's time to build it yourself. But I don't have the resources, I protested. Starting a fintech company requires millions in capital. Meet me for coffee tomorrow, she said. Bring your prototype. That meeting became the foundation of everything. Dr. Chen introduced me to James Wang, a venture capitalist who specialized in fintech startups. He spent 3 hours grilling me about the technology, the market potential, the competition. Your AI architecture is unique, he finally said. Most fintech platforms use basic pattern recognition. Yours actually learns and adapts to individual financial behaviors. How much do you need to build this? $2 million for initial development and testing. I replied, showing him the detailed budget I prepared for Marcus. Another $3 million for market launch and scaling. James nodded, making notes. I can get you $5 million. But there's a catch. You'll need to work on this in complete secrecy until launch. No public association with the company, no LinkedIn updates, nothing that could alert potential competitors. I have a day job, I said, at TechCore. Keep it, he advised. It's perfect cover. Build your company at night and on weekends. We'll hire a CEO to be the public face during development. When you're ready to launch, you can reveal yourself as the founder and technical architect. And that's how Nighthall Financial was born. For 3 years, I lived a double life. During the day, I was Sarah Lin, mid-level programmer at TechCore, quietly accepting Marcus's criticism and condescension. At night, I was the hidden founder of what would become the fastest-growing fintech startup in history. The secrecy wasn't easy. I worked from 9 to 5 at TechCore, then spent evenings and weekends building Nighthall. My small apartment became a command center of monitors and development servers. I hired remote developers using secure channels, coordinating with them through encrypted communications. James kept his word about funding, and our CDO, a brilliant woman named Michelle Chen, became the company's public face. She handled interviews and investor meetings while I focused on perfecting the technology. Every time Marcus rejected my proposals at TechCore, I channeled that energy into Nightowl. His dismissal of AI-driven financial analysis, I used it to refine our algorithms. His mockery of my user interface designs, it pushed me to create something even more intuitive. The hardest part was watching other companies launch inferior versions of my vision. Marcus would parade these competitors' products in meetings, pointedly noting how they proved my ideas were derivative and unoriginal. Little did he know that Nightowl was already running private beta tests with selected users. Our AI system wasn't just analyzing spending patterns, it was predicting financial trends, preventing fraud, and providing personalized wealth-building strategies with unprecedented accuracy. 1 month ago, everything changed. Our beta results exceeded all projections. User acquisition costs were 60% below industry standard. Customer satisfaction scores broke records. Most importantly, our AI system was performing at levels that make competitors' products look primitive. James called an emergency board meeting. "We're ready," he declared. "Time to show the world who really built Nightowl." Michelle agreed. The Forbes interview is scheduled for next week. They want to do a cover story on the hidden genius behind the year's most anticipated tech launch. I thought about Marcus, about all the times he used my failures to teach others not to dream too big. About the countless meetings where he crushed innovative ideas because they didn't come from the right people or follow the right paths. "Do it," I said. "It's time." Now, sitting in TechCore's conference room watching Marcus dissect my failed project, I felt a strange sense of calm. In less than 24 hours, Forbes magazine would hit desks and inboxes across the tech world. The cover story: the secret founder of Nightowl. How a hidden genius built a $300 million fintech empire. Marcus was still talking, his voice filled with practiced concern. "This team is why we must maintain high standards. Not everyone is cut out for innovation. Some people, like Sarah, might be better suited to supporting roles rather than trying to lead." I checked my phone under the desk. A message from James. "Forbes article goes live at 9 a.m. tomorrow. You ready?" I texted back one word: ready. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. I arrived at TechCore's office at exactly 8:55 a.m. the next morning. The security guard did a double take. I'd never worn a designer suit to work before, but today wasn't a normal day. My phone had been buzzing since dawn. The Forbes article was scheduled to go live in 5 minutes, and the tech world was already humming with speculation about Nightowl's mysterious founder. Our PR team had orchestrated the reveal perfectly, with synchronized announcements across multiple platforms. I walked past Marcus's office, where he was already practicing his usual morning routine of criticizing someone's work. Today's victim was a junior developer named Alex, who was hunched over as Marcus dissected his code. "This is exactly the kind of mediocre thinking that holds companies back," Marcus was saying. "You need to understand your place in the hierarchy." 8:59 a.m. I settled into my cubicle and opened my laptop. The Forbes website was already open, counting down to the article release. Across the office, dozens of other screens showed the same page. Nightowl's imminent public launch had been the talk of the tech industry for weeks. 9:00 a.m., the page refreshed. There it was. My face, taken during a secret photo shoot last week, splashed across the digital cover of Forbes. The headline read, "Meet Sarah Lin, the brilliant hidden founder behind Nightowl's $300 million AI revolution." The office erupted in gasps and murmurs. I heard my name being whispered, followed by the sound of chairs scraping as people stood to look over their cubicle walls at me. Someone dropped a coffee mug. "Sarah?" Alex appeared at my cubicle entrance, his face pale. Is that really you?" Before I could answer, Marcus's voice boomed across the office. "What is this nonsense?" He strode toward my desk, tablet in hand, his face shifting between confusion and anger. "This is some kind of mistake. Some kind of prank." I stood slowly, smoothing my suit jacket. "No mistake, Marcus. Though I understand your confusion. After all, people like me aren't cut out for innovation, right?" The growing crowd of employees parted as Michelle Chen, Nightowl's CEO, walked into the office, followed by James Wong and our entire executive team. "Sarah," Michelle called warmly, ready for the press conference. Marcus's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. Press conference? You can't just walk in here and… Actually, James interrupted, we can. Sarah's resignation letter was just delivered to HR, along with some interesting documentation about how her intellectual property has been handled here at TechCore. I picked up my laptop and the small plant that had decorated my desk for 3 years. The AI architecture you've been rejecting and mocking? I said to Marcus, keeping my voice level. It's now worth $300 million. The Series B funding round closed last night. That's impossible, Marcus sputtered. I reviewed that technology. It was basic, unworkable. No, I corrected him. You dismissed it without reviewing it. Just like you dismiss everyone who doesn't fit your narrow view of what success looks like. The difference is, I didn't let your rejection stop me. Michelle stepped forward. Perhaps you'd like to see the real numbers? She handed Marcus a folder. Our AI system has achieved a 98.7% accuracy rate in financial prediction modeling. We have 100,000 beta users with a waiting list of over 1 million. Major banks are already negotiating licensing deals. Marcus flipped through the papers, his hands shaking slightly. But you work here. You're just a what? I asked quietly. Just a junior programmer? Just a woman in tech who should know her place. While you were busy teaching everyone what failure looks like, I was building something revolutionary. The office had gone completely silent. Every eye was on Marcus as 3 years of his carefully constructed authority crumbled. Your project proposals, he managed finally. They were deliberately flawed. You submitted weak versions to avoid suspicion. I smiled. Now you're getting it. Every rejection just gave me more time to perfect the real system. Away from TechCore's claims on intellectual property. Away from your mentorship. James cleared his throat. Speaking of intellectual property, our lawyers would like to discuss your company's pattern of handling employee innovations. We have documentation of several other instances where viable projects were dismissed, only to mysteriously resurface later under different names. Marcus's face went from purple to white. Sarah, Michelle called from the door. The Wall Street Journal is waiting. Shall we? I turned to my now former colleagues. For everyone who's had their ideas dismissed, their innovations mocked, their potential denied, remember this moment. Success doesn't always look like what others tell you it should. As I walked toward the door, Alex stepped forward. Sarah, that financial tracking system I've been working on in my spare time, would Naito be interested in taking a look? Send it over, I smiled. We believe in evaluating ideas on their actual merit. The next few hours were a blur of interviews, photographs, and congratulations. Naito's stock price soared as the market responded to the revelation of its founder's identity. Tech blogs exploded with analyses of how a stealth founder had built a financial AI empire right under the industry's nose. But the most satisfying moment came that evening when I returned to my apartment and found an email from Dr. Chen, my former professor. Sarah, I just watched your press conference. You didn't just prove them wrong, you showed everyone a better way to be right. Your success isn't just about the technology, it's about proving that innovation can come from anywhere, if we just have the courage to persist. Proud of you, Dr. C. 1 week later, Naito moved into its new headquarters, ironically in the building right across from TechCore. I had insisted on floor-to-ceiling windows in my office, with a clear view of my old workplace, not out of spite, but as a reminder. On my desk, I kept a frame containing Marcus's last rejection email of my project. Next to it sat the Forbes magazine cover. Between them stood a small plaque with words I'd had engraved after our launch. Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. The aftermath was more significant than even I had anticipated. Marcus resigned from TechCore 3 months later, after an internal investigation into his handling of employee innovations. Several former colleagues joined Naito, bringing fresh ideas that had been suppressed under his leadership. But more importantly, our success sparked a change in the tech industry's culture. Other hidden founders began emerging, sharing stories of building their dreams while working day jobs. Naito established an innovation fund specifically for overlooked entrepreneurs, focusing on those who had been told they didn't fit the profile of success. Last month, I was invited back to TechCore, this time as a keynote speaker for their new innovation initiative. Standing at the podium where Marcus once held his quarterly review meetings, I shared the real lesson of my journey. Innovation doesn't care about titles or authority. It doesn't follow org charts or hierarchies. Real innovation often happens in the shadows, driven by people who refuse to accept artificial limitations. Success isn't given, it's built one rejected proposal at a time. Yesterday, a young programmer stopped me after a conference presentation. She asked if I regretted not revealing Nighthall's success sooner, if all those years of hiding my achievements were worth it. I thought about the look on Marcus's face when he saw that Forbes cover, about the message my story had sent to every overlooked innovator, about the changes it had sparked in corporate culture. Sometimes, I told her, the best revenge isn't proving others wrong. It's proving that their entire way of judging success was wrong. That takes time, patience, and the courage to work in silence until the right moment. Nighthall continues to grow, now valued at over $1 billion. But our most valuable asset isn't our AI technology or our market share. It's the culture we've built, one where ideas are judged on merit, not source, and where innovation can come from anywhere. As for Marcus, I heard he's writing a book about recognizing hidden talent in organizations. I call that ironic, but sometimes the best lessons come from our biggest mistakes. The plant from my old cubicle now sits in Nighthall's lobby, next to a wall of patents and awards. It's a reminder that growth happens even when no one's watching, and sometimes that's exactly when it happens best.